Welcome to Serenity, Game Systems Foundation. In this first video, we're not going to configure anything, nor are we going to create scenes from scratch. In fact, quite the opposite. This example project is already fully configured, and all the foundation systems are up and running. What we're going to do now is understand what Serenity is, why it exists, what problems it solves, and how its systems are organized at a high level, so that you can get the most out of it from day one. Think of this video as a guided tour. We're going to take a look at what Serenity includes, how its modules are organized, and the philosophy behind its architecture. And most importantly, I'm going to show you which things are configured through scriptable objects, which things are controlled via prefabs, and what is actually coded in C# when you want to extend the system. Today, you're going to see everything working together, because all it comes pre-configured in this example project. At game development, many problems repeat themselves over and over again. Menus, navigation, input, audio, modals, localization, settings, screen transitions. None of that is the core of your game, but it does consume a huge amount of time if you start from scratch. Serenity was created precisely for that, to give you all those systems ready to use, integrated and coherent, so you can focus on creating your game. Serenity is a collection of well-defined game systems, designed to provide a level of structure that Unity intentionally leaves open. It is called a foundation because it gives you solid ground, not because it replaces your entire game architecture. You can use Serenity as the backbone of a new project, or as an auxiliary architecture alongside existing code. It does not require you to rewrite your game. Serenity is not a starter template. It is not an all-or-nothing framework, and it does not force you to adopt everything at once. You're in control of which systems you want, where they live, and how much responsibility they have in your project. Unity makes it easy to start a project and remain flexible over time. As projects grow, teams often end up defining their own conventions for things like how systems are initialized, how responsibilities are split, how shared infrastructure is organized, how a startup order is controlled. Serenity exists to offer a structured way to address those concerns, exactly when and where it becomes useful. You can introduce it incrementally, without breaking what already works. Serenity is designed for developers who want more structure without losing flexibility, are working on projects that need to scale over time, prefer explicit architecture over implicit behavior. It is also a good fit if you simply want ready-to-use systems that work out of the box. Sensible defaults you don't need to overthink, and allow you to go deeper only when you decide to. Serenity adapts to how involved you want to be. It is especially useful if your project is already growing or you want to cleanly isolate systems without a full rewrite. Think of each aggregate as an autonomous self-explanatory module with clearly defined responsibilities. The important thing to understand is that all of these modules work together without you having to write code to connect them. Most of them are configured using scriptable objects, some through prefabs, and only a few require code when you want to extend them. Before explaining anything else, I want you to see Serenity working. Let's enter on play mode. First of all, the splashes cutscenes will show up. Then, the primary input gate will take note of which device is taking control. Once a button is pressed, it will show the main menu. We can navigate using keyboard, gamepad, or mouse. In each of the options menu, we can adjust values strictly attached to different systems. All the elements that I'm showing to you are all configured purely with scriptable objects and prefabs. There is no custom code written for these interactions. We can start a new game pressing a New Game button. A loading bar will appear showing its progress. We can pause the game pressing the pause button defined on the Input System section map. We can end the game session and return to the main menu. It also allows you to exit game. One of the core design goals of Serenity is to make architecture decisions obvious. If you understand when to create a scriptable object, a prefab, or a C# script, you will work faster, avoid architectural mistakes, and keep your project clean and scalable. In Serenity, scriptable objects are used for definition and declarative configuration. Scriptable objects describe what something is, not how it behaves. Prefabs represent presentation and structure, especially UI. They define how things look and add composed visually. Create a C# script when you need logic, behavior, roles, or coordination. C# scripts define how things work and interact. The golden rule is quite simple. If you need data, create a new scriptable object. If you need visual structure, create a new prefab. If you need logic and behaviors, you need to code. When in doubt, this rule almost always leads to the correct decision. The initialization pipeline is one of the core concepts in Serenity. It gives you a clear, explicit way to define which systems are installed, when they are initialized, and how they participate in the application lifecycle. This pipeline can coexist with your own bootstrapped logic. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is mandatory. And that's it for the overview. You've now seen Serenity in action. You know what problems it solves, how it's structured, how it can be extended, and which parts of the work get done without coding. In the next tutorials, we'll go module by module, configuring menus, modals, audio, localization, input, and much more, all through scriptable objects with real and practical examples.